Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Right, namaste everyone. Welcome back to 2026 sessions. Srini Mahodaya is going to continue um, where he left off around, I think, second week of December. So, yeah, hope you all had a good break. And then, let's begin our lessons now. Mahodaya, please take over.
Sure. Okay. Now, so no infinite windows for you, right? It's all fine. You can see it properly.
Yeah, we can see it.
Okay. So I'll be switching back and forth. When I have to see you, I need to come to another screen here. So excuse me on that. So if I take a little bit of time on that, and okay. Good morning, everyone. So today I just wanted to recap what we had done last year. And
Mahodaya,
yeah.
just a quick suggestion. What we're seeing is the meet window is blocking part of the slide.
Oh, okay. I don't. Let me see. Oh. Okay. Slideshow, maybe. Is it better?
Yeah, you can see the whole thing now. Yeah.
Let's still. Okay. Hope this is okay, right? Is it better or worse?
Yeah, we can see the full slide right now.
Okay.
Some people may want to see it magnified just a tad bit, but I'm okay for now. I mean, I don't know about others. I think we can
Yeah. All right.
check. Yeah.
So in the last few sessions, we had started some of the darshanas, and especially Nyaya Darshana, which is logic, the Indian way. And when it comes to logic, we studied, now there is a very, very systematic way of getting into the topic, the Vishaya, Anubandha, Chatushtayam, and we talked about how the relationship needs to be made for the subject and who is qualified to gain knowledge about a subject, and whether it suits everyone or it doesn't suit everyone. All of that had to be discussed. So we gave an introduction to the topic of Nyaya. And Nyaya, in the Western world, we call that an Aristotelian logic. And we actually did compare with how the logic system operates in the Western world versus the Indian way. And now it's the time for application. So while trying to apply, today we are bringing many topics, actually, starting with the Western philosophy and Western political philosophy and all of that. And some of you who are attending may be familiar, some of you may not be familiar at all. And some of you are entrepreneurs, some of you are corporate employees, some of you have run businesses, and many of you are familiar with Indian knowledge systems. At least you've been attending the classes for more than a year, maybe a year now. And we do have a special guest today by name Shweta Padmanabha. And she will be a potential council member for Cedar Park. Welcome, Shweta.
Thank you, Srini. Good morning, everyone. Sorry, I'm not on the video. I wasn't ready for this morning, but
Oh,
give me a
that's
few
okay.
minutes. Yeah, I can come and show my face, so you guys can put a face for my
So
name. But
it's
nevertheless, thank you, Srini and team, for the opportunity here. Mhm.
So I thought people who are getting into any of these spheres, such as be it corporate leadership or uh, maybe the political leadership, or even when it comes to civic engagement, we need leaders from our communities who are representing our knowledge systems and can actually operate with the sufficient knowledge of who we are, what we do, and how we see things our way. We've been seen through the lens of others, but we're yet to learn how to see ourselves through our own lens and others through our lens, and how it helps. So that's the whole point of Indian knowledge systems, that is to have our own authentic lens. Having said that, just wanted to recap where we were. So we did introduce the topic of Nyaya, and actually the errors in a logic system, how to identify errors and how to overcome it. We talked about whether it is a silver or a shell, and what happens when the perception is wrong. And we also talked about the idea of pramanas and why we use pramanas and not belief systems. And we talked about what is required for a shastric um, viewpoint, which is pramana, shasana, anubandha chatushtaya, and pramanya, and also transformative power. That is the outcome of a good shastric or a systematic study of the treatises. So, what are treatises? The Shastra, I mean, the loosely translated word is treatise, which is nothing but the systematic study of a subject. And we talked about the analysis of errors and how things can go wrong, both in the perceptual as well as the conceptual phases, and how to correct it. And we talked about how our entire system is lakshana based, which is descriptive and finding the swabhava, or the nature of things before we talk about the users of those things. Whereas how the Western, or the philosophical approach actually differed from ours, and where the conceptual analysis was primal, and definitions had to be through the categories which have already been established. It's not starting from pramanas, it is starting from a belief system, is what we established, and that was even evidenced by Gettier study. That was an example that I gave before we ended the class, and that was, for example, John owns a Ford, and how does the Western world, the entire philosophy, what's a common thread there? They say, okay, knowledge is a justified true belief, right? This is the definition of knowledge: justified true belief. And the Gettier problem talks about, oh, in that case, Smith has a strong evidence of Mr. Jones owning a Ford car. Now, Smith doesn't know where he is, but he already has this belief. Either Jones owns a Ford, or John Brown his name is John Brown, okay, and he's in Barcelona. I mean, if I don't see a Ford, in his backyard or in his front yard, so he's in Barcelona. That's what I know. This is justified true belief of Mr. Jones. But the fact is, Jones actually does not own a Ford. He was just told, or he had seen Mr. Jones owning a rental car. Well, that was Ford, right? But just by coincidence, when he went there in front of his house, he didn't see it. He didn't see the car, and he thought, Smith thought Brown is in Barcelona. So now Smith's belief is justified based on the evidence, right? But justified true belief is this knowledge, Gettier asks, right? Definitely not, because he could be. Gettier shows that the true belief with justification can still be accidental, and Indian epistemology, or the Pramana Shastra, what we call epistemology, is nothing but study of knowledge and sources. It avoids this by requiring the knowledge be born from faultless knowing process. Knowing is full of errors, but how do we start eliminating the faults? We do not define knowledge as a justified true belief at all. So this is the first definition we disagree with, because we have to start with observation first. Now, right. Now that you're in governance or leadership activities in your company, you're running your own startups and your own companies or your own organizations. The goal of this presentation is to train the participants so that they can evaluate any law, policy, or political ideology using our own model, which is dharma, artha, kama, and moksha framework, not through the definition that we already have, that is rights, power, or economic outcomes, so that our governance, our viewpoint on the governance aligns with right conduct, which is dharma, and the means by which we achieve our desires and our means, that is called the artha, which is sustainable prosperity and material stability. Dharma is about cosmic order. I'll tell you what cosmic order is, but it's about cosmic order, justice, and social duty with responsibility. Duties and responsibilities, right? And not rights and entitlements. Why? We'll come to that thing. And then we talk about kama, which is nothing but needs and wants. It could be physical or mental, right? Needs and wants. So we group all of this in this context of the presentation. We group human well-being, harmony, the capacity and the ability to live harmoniously with others, and legitimate fulfillment of desires. And moksha, in many places, we talk about moksha all the time, which actually, literally in the spiritual realm, it would mean liberation from desires, not just the desires of the physical kind, but also the mental kind, and being free from our own mental prisons and not just from others, right? But here in this context, we will be using this term in terms of human dignity, ethical growth, and long-term flourishing, which is actually moving towards self-fulfillment or self-realization. And let's come to this point. Okay. You see these two bulls on the left-hand side and on the right-hand side. On the left-hand side, you have these raging bulls. They represent desires and means, kama and artha. This kama and the artha you see on the left-hand side, when they're not sandwiched between dharma and the moksha, they're raging bulls, uncontrolled. They can go anywhere. And what's the ultimate end point? All human beings have fourfold aims. That is, it starts with desire, which is nothing but needs and wants. Now, I do have needs and wants. I want some kind of means in order to achieve them, right? So that is artha. And the entire world, most of it, is completely engulfed in these pursuits. That is kama and the artha. Kama, artha, desires and means, and that is where the life is over. Sometimes ethics come, but not for the most part, and it has to be enforced. These ethics are going to be taking the shape of rules, laws, and then they need to be enforced, regulated. So it forms governance, right, or government. or corporate governance or whatever it is. But again, is it dharma? Not really. It's just, we call it niti or the niyama, but not dharma. I will touch upon that aspect as well. But you see on the right hand side, these two bulls, the kama and the artha, are controlled by dharma and moksha pillars. If they're not regulated, if they're not tied to dharma and moksha, not sandwiched between dharma and moksha, you destruction is inevitable. And that is what you see on the left hand side. You see a lot of people, you know, trample upon. You do see destruction. You see nothing in order. On the right hand side, you see all these flowers, gardens, and everything, which actually a symbol of wealth, prosperity, as well as stability. This is a metaphor that is used in order to put the point that dharma and moksha always have to be. It's like, take a wooden log, and if you cut that into three parts, first part is the desire, the second part is the means, and the third part is dharma. But the fourth, you don't have to make the fourth cut, because the fourth cut, moksha, is by default available. So we call this trivarga, or kama, artha, and dharma, called the trivarga. And if dharma is not pursued, destruction is inevitable. If dharma is pursued, liberation or freedom is by default available. Okay, and so why do we need a new lens? That's because currently we live in the world of rights, power, and economies. Rights are nothing but, they can be legal, but still unjust. Right? I have the right to dress up the way I want. That's fine. I have the right to smoke, right? And if I have the right to smoke, then I should be left alone. I should be able to smoke anywhere. And you do see there are some rules that as soon as you walk into an elevator, you would see that, do not smoke in the elevator, right? And I don't have to smoke in the elevator. That's fine. I'll follow it. As soon as I come out, I'll smoke. Now, am I legal at that point? Yes. But am I still hurting the other person who doesn't want to smoke? In the same office building, right? I followed the rule that was written in the elevator. I followed the rule to the letter, so therefore I'm legal. But when I come out, I still smoke in front of the same person who has some kind of probably asthma or whatever be the disease. I am aggravating that disease in the other person, though I remained legal. Now, here is where dharma comes to play. Dharma is about the principle of not harming the other person, not just being legal about place and circumstances. It is not place and time bound, but it should cut across time and place. So this is what we call a rule. Is simply nothing but a vishesha dharma. It is bound to time and place, but once you transcend that special dharma remains, which is not to harm the other person. So not only you're legal, but you're also ethical, so that you remain sane without harming the interest of the other person. This is where we need to watch, and therefore the rights are not enough. They can be legal, but still be unjust. So how do you recognize them? Now, power, you don't see power, but you do see wealth, which can be used as power, or fame, which can be felt, but can still act as power, or influence can also be power. They all can be effective, but they can be destructive too. If I don't, when I do have all the rules and the laws within the country, the moment I cross the international borders, I don't have to follow any of the rules because those rules and laws of the other country do not apply to me. Therefore, I can bomb, I can capture, I can do whatever I want. So that so power can be effective but still destructive to other humans. Growth can be profitable but still dehumanizing. I can contaminate the water, make a lot of profit, but still dehumanizing and harming the other person. And now you see the in the sphere of the modern world, we pursue rights, we pursue power, we pursue growth, but not dharmartha kama moksha. We don't have it. So civilization decline when ethics, ecology, and meaning are excluded. So the question is, how do you balance and sustain? Here you see a picture with three examples. I mean, rather, it's a, you see that on the left-hand side, there's a bridge that is being built. In the picture that's in the middle, you do see a bridge, somewhat. It's wooden, not very well constructed, but somewhat breaking. But people are still using it. On the third side, you do see a bridge which is nicely built, and you don't see those. You don't see water that is gushing through, or you do not see. You also see people are able to sit here in a calm manner and listen to what this person in orange robes is talking. Right. So this is the three differences that you would see. But on the left hand side, we are calling it the liberal bridge. The liberal bridge is so this person. Let's say assume that this is a village called Kalyanpur or whatever, right? So in Kalyanpur, they decide to build a bridge. The first person comes who is a liberal, and the liberal would say, "Oh, everyone must have the right to cross the bridge in order to get to the village. Everyone must have the right to travel, right?" So he builds a bridge, and people are happy. They're they can walk, but he says, "Well, you know what? A bridge actually costs some money. Those who have to cross, everyone has the right to cross, but you have to pay. Once you pay, you have the right to cross." Now, what happens? Some people who have money can pay the toll, cross the bridge. Some do not, right? And you do see that all of the money was spent only for this bridge and nothing else. And you start seeing there are people who can cross the bridge. There are people who can. There are people who can rest on the bridge because they pay a little more. So this kind of differences will start to happen, and over time, the money is all being taken as a profit, and this person has vanished, and the bridge is collapsing, and all of that. And so another elder person from that village comes along, and he is the leader of the village, and he says, I mean, he's a conservative. So he wants to have his heritage back, have his tradition back. And he says that from years and years and years, we have been walking on the same bridge, the same way, in the same spot. Even though this bridge is breaking, we are not going to, build a new one. All we're going to do is just keep fixing because we have traditionally honored it. Right? And this is how we walked. This is how we crossed. And over time, the entire bridge breaks. So they're back to the olden times when they had to use a wood, all the wooden logs and everything, and then they built the bridge. And you do see the wealth is slowly disappearing, right, over time. And you do see there is a difference between. So there were people who were actually, waiting, and they all have vanished. There's no use because the water has become so dangerous. and the bridge is so brittle at this point, it doesn't make sense for many people to cross over to the next village, so they have disappeared. Right? That is a conservative bridge. And on the third one, there is a dharmic bridge. And here you do see there are constructions that took place on the other side of the bridge, that is to probably slow the water down a little bit. And then there's a lot more work that has happened under the bridge. And then there is a bridge which actually catering to all kinds of people, and it's more shared than individually owned. So now you do see people can, whoever wants to do what they wanted to do, they're still doing it. And there's not much of any chaos or the commotion that you saw where, because on the first in the first picture, there's a lot of opposition by those who could not pay the toll, because they formed a group in order to oppose or lower the toll. And in the conservative bridge, and during those times, you do see, only one person became very authoritative, and everybody had to follow the same traditional authority, this father figure. And you do see the problems have taken a different shape, and people are not using the bridge, and the bridge may collapse one day, right? But in the third picture, you do see more sustainability for a longer time. They do use the bridge. It's more the surrounding areas also have been taken care, and the cost is also shared. At the same time, some kind of a balance in the ecosystem is also attained. So this is more of a holistic approach. So what's the governance principle? A lot of policies sound only when all four are balanced. That is dharma, artha, kama, moksha. Not when one, the rights or the power or the economy dominates the rest. For example, rights. What do rights mean? Rights is about entitlements. It's about, in the first picture, you do see that rights, the liberal bridge builder was asking, everybody has the right. So the question is about asking who may cross, right? If you pay, you cross. If you don't pay, you don't cross. Tradition asks how we used to cross. So we have to be crossing the same way, in the same spot, on the same bridge. Dharma asks what kind of crossing sustains life itself. It's not about now. It's not about a few people. It's not about who can afford, who cannot afford, but what kind of a bridge sustains life. So the broader question is brought in. So let's see how do they build schools? In a liberal vision, the very first school on the left hand side, you do see it's a big building. It's a university building, very nicely built. Actually, it looks nice. And you do see some professors, some kids studying, right? And you do see some kids and some professors are in the corner. They're talking and they're having fun, and a few are rioting, and a few are burning. Now everybody is doing what they wanted to do. Everybody has the right, right? The modern academia, the liberal modern academia, where everyone has the right to do. If you want to sit in the class, you can sit and study. If you want to go and stage a protest, because you have the right to protest, you can go. But right to protest can escalate into violence when shouting is not minimized, when it's not at a level where you expect it to be, because you always cross the limit when your emotions are high. There's no way you can bring it back. There is no peaceful shouting, right? At some point, it will cross the limits, and if the emotions are high, property destruction is possible, and it will result in lawlessness. So that's a liberal vision, right? Right to protest also exists here. In the second school, which is the conservative vision, you do see, unlike the first one, all students are wearing uniform. They all have to look the same. And you do see there is an authoritative person who would be lecturing, and then it's all about discipline. It's all about holding your traditional values so dear to your heart. The change is any change is seen as a threat. So now this opposition to change. So what's the pros? The pros is like it is discipline, and they all look peaceful, but will they be? That did not happen during the Renaissance time. We do see that there was a lot of opposition in the European world. The Protestantism, and later you do see Marxism that rebelled against any kind of religious or cultural authority. Right on the in the third picture, you do see it's the same school, but you don't see a big building at all. See, it is there are smaller buildings or smaller places where you do see students are still learning. The ecosystem is still maintained. You haven't occupied a lot of space. At the same time, you are in alignment with the nature when you are pursuing your studies, because your studies should never be disconnected to reality and nature. Right? So that is what you're seeing. Let's see. So, which school do you think is actually preparing citizens? The first, the middle one, or the third one? And which culture actually preserved the culture that they wanted to preserve? And which school is actually preparing human beings that would sustain and maintain order? The first, the second, or the third? Right. All right, let's go. So, what are these stories telling us? We simply used a dharmic lens on liberalism and conservatism, which are two movements. They can be in the form of parties, or they can be in the form of groups, special interests, or whatever it is. You do see only two kinds of people here, at least when we are in the Western world, maybe mixed here and there, but you don't have a choice. Either you got to be liberal or conservative, right? So liberalism is all about securing rights, access, and choice. Choice is moral. You got to have choices, right? What it misses is the moral compass, or moral direction, and the inner transformation or the inner formation. And you did see those examples. When it comes to conservatism, it preserves tradition in the name of authority, discipline, and order, but it is risking rigidity and unexamined authority. There is no such thing as a benevolent dictator. There is no such thing as a benevolent authority, because your choice is going to be imposed on all. When it comes to dharmic model, it's all about integration. It's not about exclusion. It's not about inclusion. It's about integration, right? It's not about juxtaposition. You've seen all those, the puzzle pieces and how they all come together. Everything has the right place and the right moment when they have to come together in order to form the whole picture. Right? It has to integrate dharma, artha, kama, and the moksha, so that the whole pursuit is demanding higher responsibility. There are no rights without responsibility. So when do you need rights? When you don't have responsibility, when the responsibility is broken, when you expect the other person not to honor his or her responsibility, right? It has to demand higher responsibility from both citizen and state, right? So when it comes to dharmic education, we stress a lot on kartavya, which is duty, right? What needs to be done should be done. If you have to maintain discipline, you have to maintain discipline. Not praptavya. Praptavya is rights. You have the right to get something. You have the right to means to your livelihood, right to life, liberty, and happiness. Yes, nobody denies it. You have the right. but it's not a praptavya. You have to do the kartavya in order to be eligible for the praptavya, because the praptavya is integral to kartavya. You cannot divorce cause and effect. You cannot divorce red flower in a way that is red is different from the flower. They're all integrated, right? So the kartavya and the praptavya. Kartavya is the cause, praptavya is the effect. So you can't keep on fighting for the praptavya and hoping the kartavya will follow. It's the opposite. Uh, do people don't people know that? I mean, they know that somewhat implicitly, intuitively, but when it comes to policies, politics, or governance, that is not going to be followed. You do see, even in the documents, all laws, all constitutions are written not in the form of kartavya. They all have to be written, especially laws, have to be written in the form of praptavya, right? What you're entitled to get, know your rights, kind of thing. So liberalism educates for entitlement. It teaches you rights. Conservatism for inheritance of tradition, inheritance of laws. It's all about, in a way, I mean, tradition is the authority. You have to just borrow it. We are simply inheritors. But the dharmic vision is all about human becoming. In order to, you can get all of that thing, but you have to fix yourself. And we use the terms called, individual and the collective, individual and the society. The term is the vyashti and the samashti, the relationship of vyashti and samashti. Uh, yatha ande tatha brahmande. Whatever is in the individual is in the universe. What is right for the individual should be right for the universe. In a way that is in congruence, that is in alignment. Right? So let's see how it applies to city. Right? When it comes to urban planning, a liberal city or the market city, let market take over whatever they want to do. Everyone has the right to pursue their life, liberty, and happiness, and selling. They can sell drugs. They can do whatever they want to do on the street, right? And they can throw garbage. You have the right. You do see that in India, and most of India looks like a slum for that matter, right? And you do see that thing. It's liberalism to an extreme, right? And then comes, we do have heritage cities too, and these heritage cities, they're good in a way. The name looks nice, but you do see a lot of chaos. You do see unplanned activities going on. You do see, even though we are very, very proud of our conservative attitude in some of the cities or in some of the places, you do see clutter, disorganized ways of living in a way that is actually, it's impossible to fix the city. It's impossible to break this open and or cater to a population that is growing, right? That can, it's not happening only in India, but elsewhere, everywhere too, right? When it comes to dharmic city, it's all about planned growth. It's all about managing the ecosystem with individual and the social responsibilities, and how the policies should actually be reflecting it rather than enforcing it. So because once you teach them duties and responsibilities, you don't have to enforce it by law, right? And what happens? You do see it's the same thing anywhere, be it New York City or be it Mumbai, Bangalore, Delhi, or when it comes to some of the, those who hold the tradition of greatest value, you do see the stagnation in the middle. And and what's the answer? Whether it is, you know, liberal city, the heritage city, the conservative city, or the dharmic city, you do see where the balance is going to be maintained. And we have to get to the root of where the differences do lie. And at this point, do you have any questions or some comments? Is it making sense?
One comment I have,
Mhm.
mainly on the liberal side of it, and especially on the political liberal side of it.
Mhm.
And what you said is correct, but also there is one angle which I'm struggling to understand, struggling to comprehend, which is like more of a cognitive dissonance. At least I perceive it as cognitive dissonance, wherein while pursuing the liberal path,
Mhm.
you are enabling or encouraging ultra conservative paths because hey, that's their right to be able to do that, and I
Mm.
support it. Whether I don't, even though I understand or I don't understand, I
Yeah.
am going to support it. Which is, you're seeing that very much in Europe. You're seeing that in several cities in US.
Yeah.
I mean, how do you? I mean, to me, it's cognitive dissonance. But
Yes.
how do you correlate that in that framework of liberalism?
Yeah. So as we touched upon the topic of lakshanas in the when we were introducing Nyaya Shastra, when I was talking about the entire Shastric viewpoint or the Nyaya is about finding it's descriptive. Find the lakshana, the swabhava and the tatastha lakshanas, meaning that which is intrinsic and that which comes and goes, right? What do I mean by that thing? Oh, you have to know, just before you get all liberal and then say, oh, yeah, everyone has a right to pursue what they want to pursue, right to say whatever they want to say, right to practice and express and even issue threats because it is freedom of expression. That didn't happen, it didn't manifest, but it's just, he said, she said, and it's just hearsay. Therefore, uh, nothing should be done, right? What's happening here, right? There are certain harmful ideologies, very harmful ones. They are not individualistic, they're collective. They need critical mass in order to execute on it. Now, what do you think, even if you had pursued the lakshana of a group, the lakshana of an ideology, that is the nature of that ideology, would you have done the same thing of what Europe does, for example? Oh, everyone should have the right to express even hatred, right? Because it's freedom of expression. And what when you if you study the Lakshana Shastras, what would it say? You have to identify the nature of the ideology through perception, and then through inferencing or anumana, you should be able to predict what the outcome will be, right? Um, Now, using Nyaya, for example, Jayanta Bhatta in Nyaya Manjari clearly says that harmful ideologies must be discouraged by the government, actively discouraged, harmed, and they need to be contained only through mockery first. And if need be, they must be eradicated by law and enforcement. He's very clear about this thing. Did India pursue that thing? I don't think so. Right. So the dharmic viewpoint is to understand the core or the nature of an ideology and see whether it is going to be, basically, what do we call evil, right? Initiation of aggression is evil. You agree? Not the retaliation, but the initiation. Because the retaliation or can actually the reaction to aggression, and I mean the physical, can actually be self-defense. That may be necessary, but initiation of aggression is the nature of evil. Is that yes or no? You agree?
Yes, yes.
Right. So initiation of aggression is the lakshana in certain ideologies. Yes, they tell you point blank as the initiation of aggression is the means by which I can spread my ideology. In that case, liberalism doesn't work at all, because you keep saying that this is, oh, the freedom of expression, even freedom of expressing hate speech. The hate speech is an expression, therefore let them do what they want to do. But you're not seeing that in it, that hate speech is actually has initiation of aggression, the principle of initiating aggression towards others. If you don't recognize it, the failure happens. It's inevitable, and that is what you see in Europe. And that is what we saw in India too. And that is what we are seeing elsewhere. Evil has the nature. The first nature to identify what is evil is initiation of aggression. Okay. Did I answer your question, Chandra? And liberalism.
Yes, yes. No, yes. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Hey,
So,
Srini.
yes.
This is Shweta here. Um, See, this is my first time, and I'm also trying to kind of follow through some of the um, terminologies you're using here, and it makes sense in some parts. But I
Mhm,
was trying to understand. See, I'm entering into a political field here,
mhm,
in this Western world, which I shouldn't say that I'm not used to, because I've spent more than half of my life. But I grew up with a different culture and mindset there in India as well.
mhm,
Now, the conflict in my mind is,
mhm,
how do I kind of adapt and adjust to what I actually believe in my core,
mhm.
and kind of try to maneuver with the current setting here as well, without compromising my core ideologies?
Absolutely. That's a fantastic question. And the only way that I see is education, education, education. You just can't go and then change the rules and ordinances and laws overnight. That is not going to happen. Right. So, but because the universities are completely the opposite of what we are saying, many times they've changed, right? And at what period it changed? So that's another topic. When you study the history of political philosophy, it did enter into a phase where your own dharmic viewpoint was actually acceptable. Today it is not, right? And if you have to, so why education? Because you have to, in order to have policies, in order to have laws, in order to have regulations, they have to be backed by majority anyway. So that majority is nothing but a group of people, more in number, and they operate with a certain set of ideas. If the set of ideas happen to be liberal, they pursue only karma and the artha, right? uh, Having no idea of what sustainability means, how to preserve life or preserve heritage, because everything is about rights. And when it comes to conservatism, it's all about tradition, whether it was good or bad. If my tradition said so, my dad said so, my authority said so, so I have to implement it. This will, all customs and cultures will take the form of laws anywhere, and that is made by people, and these people are coming from a certain set of ideas, certain set of education, and if the education is wrong, everything is wrong. So we need
Yeah.
to start with education, start with community education, uh,
Mhm.
mobilize people with the right set of leaders, and of course you got to have a voice in all these areas, be it corporate policies, be at the decision-making table.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right? If you're not there, you're not even voicing it. If people don't hear it, and silence, if you have something to say and you don't say it, silence is a lie.
So I believe the same too. Yeah. And that's one of the reason why I'm planning to contest here as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good luck on that. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah.
So now, so a little more on this. So the importance of education that has to happen, we got to have our voice even in schools, ISDs, in all these places. So when there is an opportunity to say, to go to your ISDs and have a say of what is actually right, you got to voice that opinion, and it may be dismissed once, twice, thrice, but there is a lot of value in the consistency of messaging. When if people are not hearing you, forget it. It's not going to happen. They have to hear it multiple times because it's all about conditioning, and that is the only way. I mean, you can't enforce it in any other way. I mean, it's not about just coming to a class and attending it and then listening to it. Oh, feel good. Oh my God, we all had it, and fine, and go back and do the same thing. Nothing is going to happen. Always bridge the gap between knowing and doing. If you are not
Yeah.
bridging the,
Yeah. You're absolutely right there. Right now, the ISTs, at least you, as you are aware, RRIST and LIST, they're bringing in the Ten Commandments and the Bible studies in schools. And it's if we don't raise a voice against it,
yeah,
eventually it will be a religious public school, basically. I
yeah,
don't have anything against any religion, but I feel they should separate it. Schools are not a religious organization, and it should be independent of that.
yes, yeah. I mean, of course, I did write to the SBOE, and it was defeated because 8-7, and State Board of Education has people from those traditional set of values, and therefore they vote for it. But here I go. Many times, they are used as political tools in order to uphold, whatever they see as threatening. But I think it's much better than studying Kalma. Okay, Kalma has a precedent set. When that happens, violence is inevitable. When this happens, groupism is inevitable. So it's all about choosing the lesser evil in this case. Okay, so when it comes to what's the dharmic lens, right? As core question in liberalism, that's the fundamental lakshana, the fundamental nature of liberalism. What am I entitled to? Not what am I responsible for. What am I entitled to? Conservatism. What must we preserve? Because it's all about customary rights. It's not about legal rights. It's not about natural rights. It's about customary rights. Do I have the custom of doing this thing? Water is so important. Why is it important? Because all my previous generations honored water. Therefore, water is important. That's how they derive the idea of rights. It's not that they don't do a good job. They might do, but the whole lens is different. And in the dharmic model, we have to ask the question when we are evaluating it, right? Who must I become and what order must I uphold? What kind of a social order? What kind of order in my life and my neighborhood, in my society? What's the source of order when it comes to liberalism? Law, consent, contract. You see, that's all they do. Do you have a law? Oh, consent, consent, consent. I have the consent to harm you, and you are ready to accept this as some kind of, oh, yeah, they both, let's say, I'm giving you a very taboo topic, right? Suppose what can actually really upset you guys? Incest. If there is consent and incestual marriages happen, is it okay with you? Is it not harmful? Right? See, consent, consent, consent. Don't overdo it. You there's a sukti, ati sarvatra varjayet. Ati meaning don't overdo anything, even if it happens. Consent sounds good, but it can be harmful, right? And so just see where it's all about auchitya. Sandarbh is the place, time, and the propriety of the concept. Propriety meaning auchitya, what we say in Sanskrit or in our Indic languages. Auchitya is all about being appropriate. Look at the time, the place, and the circumstance, and then see that if that consent actually is meaningful, it can extend to future and is good for all, not just for you. It should be good for you, Vyashti, and the Samashti. It should be good for both. In that case, consent is fine. Contract is fine. Laws are fine. Otherwise, they are not. And conservatism is tradition is good no matter what. Even if I'm saying that all your God, you must go to hell because you don't believe in what I believe, you are condemned to hell. How do you know? I can't prove it. You may be better than me, but my group is better than your group. This is the root of all evils when it comes to conservative evils, right? They accept it. Individually, you may be better than me, but my group is a superior group than your group. So that is the foundation of racism, foundation of supremacy of religionists, foundation of all kinds of groups based ideologies and notions based on supremacy, theory of supremacy of one group over the other. What's a dharmic model? Dharmic model is not about any of these things. It's about following the cosmic order through dharma. What is it? I'll show you a picture so that you understand with an example what it is. Right? Remember, Ruta, Satya, and Dharma. That's the dharmic model. Ruta meaning cosmic order, or how things happen when you observe. Planets move in a certain way, and the plants grow in a certain way. Seasons come and go in a certain way. That has a rhythm. In fact, the rhythm of the Sanskrit term actually has a parallel rhythm. It has a regular pattern. It's not a law. It's not man-made. It's not my opinion versus your opinion. It's not my inference to your inference. It's purely observation. That is what reality is. The order of reality is Rutam. Okay. And when you verbalize it, it is Satyam. When you implement it in alignment, it is Dharma. Right. Observation of reality is Rutam. Verbalizing what you observe is truth or Satyam. And then making that actionable is Dharma. I'll show you another picture that will clarify even better. So individual, when it comes to liberalism, it's all about he is the holder of rights, fundamental rights, not fundamental responsibilities, fundamental rights. And in conservatism, you are the inheritor of roles. You are defined in such a role, you got to do. You have to blue for men, pink for women. Who made? Did you make it? When we wore all kinds of colors when we were there, when we didn't even know it. But today we are so conditioned that I can't wear a pink pant or a pink shirt, right? Because the custom doesn't accept it. And that has changed. So customs and culture actually take the shape of social opinions, majority opinions, and that'll become a law. That'll become a kind of social taboo. When you see when your lens is just inheritor of roles, and a man must do only this, not women. A man must not learn dance. And have you ever seen when we see all the girls going in and learning all the Bharatanatyams and all that? Have you seen any boy doing that? No, right? Somehow we fixed it, right? But actually, they learn a lot. I mean, not just only girls are not our culture bearers. Even men are. And you do see all the women dressing appropriately for all kinds of events and whatnot, right? But you don't see men. Men wear either a short or a pant everywhere, in any occasion. Right? They don't have anything to do, right? So it's inheritor of roles. And dharmic agent, what do they do? It's all about duty, prosperity, harmony, being right for the right time, place, and occasion, sandarbha and auchitya, which leads it's all about liberation. Does it lead me to higher and higher realm of consciousness, or is my consciousness evolving at every stage of development? So that is the question dharmic model is asking. Justice is also about protecting rights when it's in liberalism, but in conservatism, it's about preserving the moral order that has already been given, right? And dharma is actually, you see, it's not about past, it's not about future, it's about simply aligning with truth or balance and duty. So you can always execute in the present moment. And when it comes to artha, the economy, market should have unbounded growth, unchecked, and do whatever you want. Price, fixing, because business A has the right to do what, if they want to increase their prices, let them. Uh, Group B has another price model. They can come to an agreement and do all of that, right? So it's there's no such thing as a price regulation there, right? Fine. But conservatism is all about stewardship, prudence. And I think here, they do have a model which is somewhat better than doing anything you want when it comes to uh, a growth in the markets or economy. Not everything is okay, but because there's a lot of power that will be executed, a lot of enforcement will happen, favoring one type of business over the other. But in the dharmic model, we have to see what is sustainable. Whether one A helps B, B helps C, and are they all symbiotic, right? Not one dominating the other, but one coordinating with the other for a synergistic best result. And karma, which we call well-being. So it's all about personal choices. Choice is moral. Personal choice. I can color my hair orange and then say I executed on my personal choice. Therefore, I'm somehow superior, right? No, but that is not what dharma holds. But it's all about, yes, you can do whatever you want to do, but that has nothing to do with morality. That has nothing to do with making one group or rights or superior to another one. A moral restraint is super important in conservatism, and moral restraint is about what the book says. Okay, it's not about what common sense says. It's all about what book says. One marrying four and having infinite number of concubines. That is more that has come down morally, and it was acceptable. Therefore, it's right. Okay. So what is right is also different from one group to another. Well, so dharmic model, we also had polygamy. We had we also had polyandry in some places. Now both polyandry and polygamy are considered illegal. But in some places they still do have it, and I think, for example, Himachal or in some of the mountainous regions where the property division had to be contained, therefore polyandry was practiced. So everybody knows polyandry, right? The meaning of polyandry, polygamy. Okay, polygamy, one man marrying many women, and polyandry is one woman marrying many men, right? Or brothers in some places. It's still allowed even in India, all right, and it's not illegal in some places because it's traditionally followed. So it's all about harmonious fulfillment. And moksha, higher aim. So private, it's totally private, and they have their own. It's all about being free from the other. If you see, the freedom is about being free from others' laws or others' expectations. That is all. That is what freedom means. Conservatism, they don't focus on that thing at all, because you got to follow the book in order to achieve. But whatever is the Abrahamic model, you are book of the people. You got to follow instructions. This manual from 1 to 10, then you'll get salvation. Right? And dharma is all about integral model. It's you have to everybody has karma and the artha, and if as long as you focus on the dharma, you are a moral person. You are, and whatever spiritual choices that you're made, and according to dharma, it's yours to take it. So it's all about integrating all aims of life, because we all know but everybody has artha, karma, and artha. Even animals have. Right? Where we differ is the jnana and the dharma from animals, right? So housing, how do they apply? So it's all about legal right to housing, and I have traditional neighborhoods only for conservatives. But here in dharma, social duty, shelter is a social duty. Dignified living is the aim. So that, and communal harmony, or community harmony, not communal, community harmony. Um, when it comes to water, price and regulates scarcity. In conservative models, preserve the water rights. Fine, it's customary rights, as I said. And here in Rajadharma, you have to protect ecology so that there is equitable access to the sacred entity called water, because it sustains our lives. The idea of sacred. And education is all about having skills, credentials, and accessibility, right? Right to earn your livelihood. That's enough. That's education in a liberal realm. But in the in the conservative realm, we do have preserve the cultural curriculum that we had 50 years back, 100 years back. It must be enforced, right? And if you don't obey, you don't get these government sanctions. Will punish you by not funding you, right? And here in dharma, in the dharmic model, it's all about, hey, are you developing your character in your education, livelihood? What are the means? Are you teaching those kinds of livelihood where one thing is not superior to the other, right? In a way that does not teach supremacy, but coordination and congruency and synergy, and the culture of expecting good from others and expecting good from yourself. Achieve good things that are valuable to you, which is needs and wants, comma, and the wisdom of liberation, not only from the others in physical terms, but from your own mental shackles, right? So ideal outcomes, freedom and rights, right? Freedom is not even defined there or properly. Freedom is purely physical freedom, right? And when it comes to the conservative model, it's all about maintaining stability, a continuity of traditions. And what we need is order, dignity, and flourishing in the dharmic model. So liberalism is securing entitlements, conservatism is all about tradition, but dharmic model is about being in alignment with the order of reality to cultivate prosperity, harmony, and human becoming. Okay, so hold on. I lost the picture somewhere here, but I promised you that I will show you a picture. Then I'll come back and I will show you the picture now. There you go. So I told you that I'll be telling you about what is Ritam, what is Satya, and what is Dharma with an example. You see, you're driving, and when you're driving, on the left-hand side, leftmost picture tells you something about what you're observing. You watched the cars coming in one direction, and you have also observed the fact that when there is a stream of cars from the other direction, there will be conflict. So the rhythm is, the order of reality is, two cars coming in the opposite direction, right? If they are in the same place at the same time, there will be collision. That is called rhythm, the order of reality. You observed it, right? This is reality, order of reality. Satyam is about recognizing the fact that if I cross this red signal, right, now, or just because I can go, I have an accelerator and I have the pedal and I can push and go because I have the freedom to go, right? I will cause an accident. I'll cause wreckage. That is verbalizing the rhythm is satyam, or truth. The dharma is the right action. I will wait, until it turns green, so that not only I am safe, but others are also safe. This is dharma, where it's not about being on the right-hand side of the road, left-hand side of the road, because those are the rules that can change from one place to another. But the principle of not harming the other person and executing an action is dharma. Any question at this point? Ritam satyam dharma. So this is all Upanishadic concepts. And this is observation of reality. Verbalizing that observation is truth. Implementing what you observe is dharma. For example, what happens if I observe the rhythm and then say, oh, I'll ignore the fact that two cars coming in the same in opposite direction don't have to meet up with an accident. So I'll ignore rhythm. What happens? Right? My mental model is already corrupted. I'm going to tell myself, well, in that case, I can jump the signal. So I can lie to myself, lie to my own conscience, because I am not recognizing the rhythm. And when I do that, destruction is inevitable. So it results in adharma. Either I have to harm the other person or harm myself. If I harm the other person, I can lie. I'll have to maintain my lies. Lies have to be building upon the lies forever in order to prove that I am not guilty, right? Because I have to be free. See, ignoring rhythm, the order of reality, results in lies, and lies results in fake life, and fake life is nothing but adharma. So this
Ajay,
model,
I have a
Yeah.
quick question.
Yeah.
I think I heard you say something about there's no inherent superiority
Hmm.
in in a more dharmic framework. Is there also no gradation? Is there? I mean, there has to be some level of comparisons available to make the right
well,
judgment.
not equality in physical terms. We are talking about, like, for example, sama bhava. Treating everyone as same should be in the bhava, not in the bhava. Let's see. I treat my 6-month-old and 16-year-old the same exact way, give the same food without discriminating, right? Because I have to treat everyone equal, right? And if I do that thing in the physical world, what happens to the 6-month-old? Can I give the same kind of the big cake that I brought from Costco feed it to the 6-month-old, the same proportion, probably a rum cake or whatever, right? So feed that thing because I have to treat everyone equally. Ignoring the rhythm at that point, right? So don't ignore the rhythm. The rhythm itself will tell you there is taratamya, that viveka. We don't call that discrimination. We call that as discriminating intelligence, viveka.
Discerning.
Discernment. Discernment is the word. Discernment is what is required. Discernment, not discrimination. So there is a difference. So the difference is in the bhava, which is manifested world, but not in the bhava. And they both are my kids, and I have to make sure that I raise them well. So that is bhava. They both are equal emotionally to me, not in the physical way at all. If I do that thing, I'm harming both. Or give the same kind of 6-month-old, what is right for the 6-month-old, like Gerber food, you can't make the 16-year-old eat, which is what this right to equal income, the rights propositions they're doing it, right? The extreme left. It's not about right to earn, but right to equal outcomes. So
Okay, thank you.
Wait, 20, and now, so we have two civilizational models. Sorry. Okay, where am I? Yeah. So what is it that we count as progress? When it comes to the core meaning, it's all about dharma is about ethical order, justice, responsibility, And artha is, yes, we got to have material prosperity. For example, Chanakya says, dharmasya moolam artha. If you want to do good, you need to have the means to do good. Prosperity, wealth, and all of that, stability, they're all artha. Okay. Dharmasya moolam artha. Arthasya moolam rajya. In order to create that kind of wealth for the society, you need to have the order of the state, a proper good state. So that has to be achieved. See, he didn't say dharmasya moolam something else. He said dharmasya moolam rajyam, where there is law, where there is responsibilities, rights, and everything. And that is what is actually situating the state or the statecraft. You got to have the state, that is rajyam. Rajyasya moolam indriya jayaha, he said. Self-control is the self-control, the education on self-control, the education on self-transcendence or dharma, those kind of things. That is the means to achieve a good state. So basically, he also says that education, the right way, is the basis of a good state. Good state is the basis of implementing dharma, not just in a small, narrow way of vyashti, but also samashti, to the whole social order. And if integrated, dharma, it's all just and sustainable order. It's all prosperity with resilience, not unbounded. One person becoming so rich, the other persons all have to remain poor. No. But otherwise, without that, I mean, India wouldn't have been the richest country in the world for 1700 years. Right? We saw decline only after 1750, in spite of all the invasions, starting from 10th century, going through 17th century too, and later. So we do have evidence for that thing that it actually worked. So it's not that it's just theory, but history tells you it was implemented, it worked. And it worked not just there, but in many places where they did that. Right? And if neglected, injustice is inevitable, exploitation is inevitable in artha, alienation, excessiveness in groupism, all of that is very much rampant, and also loss of meaning when it comes to the freedom, which is the highest value that we pursue. So what are the political stages? So we have in the Western world, when it comes to dharma, you see all the way from Plato to Thomas Hobbes to John Locke to Karl Marx, they all tried to come up with this, what is right ethics, what is right. But you do see Plato had this republic and virtue-based justice. It was, Hobbes came and then said, the power and law will be important. Let's implement that. You got to have a big state. In 1652, Thomas Hobbes. And John Locke, and during the Renaissance time, he also says about, okay, let's reduce it to rights. We don't know. Everyone has a responsibility. Rights are going to be common. Let's identify that as the basis of all politics, all policies, right? And the procedure based on rights. And then Karl Marx comes and dismisses everything. It's all ideology. It's all traditionalism. It's all religion. Religion is the opium of the masses. It's all about workers should take over, not thinkers. Right? So labor is more important than, because everything else is exploitation anyway. And Plato, when it comes to artha, it's all about subordination to virtue and republic and a big state. Thomas Hobbes was about security and order. You got to have that security. You got to have a very, very, very big law enforcement agency, enabled by the government. And John Locke identified property rights and markets should be, full free. And Adam Smith goes on to write The Wealth of Nations, 1,000 pages plus book, which is the very basis of the United States market capitalism, right? And Karl Marx, all about government should own the means of production, not private individuals. No private property, no private businesses. Only government should do that. We had that, we had telephone industry owned by the government, where you would place an order for a telephone and it will take you 20 years to get your telephone. And same thing with when it comes to karma. So all right, Plato said you've got to have your desires to be checked, right? But he wouldn't tell you much about dharma or the moksha. All he said was, hey, regulation of the desires, and you got to have the state doing it. How? We don't know. Hobbes said just safety and survival. That these are main points. Right? And Locke is all about enable individual choices. Let people have the will, and the will has the choice, and they should be free to choose whatever they want to choose. Uh, and then Marx, all about material desire. And Karl Marx doesn't go beyond material desires for them. For him, other than physical reality, nothing exists anyways. We do see that implemented in postmodernism today, right? Moksha. So there's no idea of freedom. What is freedom? You got to philosophically assent. Oh, okay. Plato was making sense, but Hobbes removed the entire thing from politics. The first time it happens. There is nothing called the pursuit of any great aims. It's not part of the government. Just remove it from politics altogether. Let's focus on karma and artha, not dharma or moksha or anything. We don't have anything to do with ethics here. We got to implement the government in the form of rules and laws, right? Locke. It's all about private belief for him. So now you see that in liberalism, right? In Karl Marx, denied everything as an illusion. Right? It's the mass rule. They have to take over. So how do we see this thing? Dharma says the civilization has to be evolving when dharma is strengthened, artha is balanced, kama is harmonized, not eliminated, just harmonized, and not unchecked. It should just be harmonized. And moksha has to be integrated. It's all about increasing the integration of all these four aims of life. So how does Dharma view the Western philosophy from all the way from Plato to down to Derrida, deconstructivism or postmodernism? Dharma is weakened, right? And artha is dominant. Kama is unchecked. I don't know. I mean, even sometimes it's so regulated in a way that people don't even come. There are about 59 countries where it was fun. Some people, karma can be pursued, for others, it cannot be pursued. And moksha is completely excluded. So we see our dharmic lens says there is a progressive loss of higher aims. So therefore, the political philosophy of the Western world is devolving, not evolving. So Plato may be still holding his politics in virtue. Hobbes may be placing it in the power, and Locke, it's all about rights and properties. Marx is collapsing everything to material production only. So artha and kama, they expand, unbounded. You see those two bulls that I showed you, artha and the kama, they are expanding, unbounded, while dharma is weakening, the pillar is collapsing, the moksha has already disappeared. So what is called progress is actually narrowing of the human purpose. It should be fourfold aim, but there are only two. But that is how we see things. So now you see the parties, Locke, Smith, Hobbes, pursued by the Republican parties, Locke, Mill, Rawls, and these are social justice and all these Marxist influence on the Democratic side. So you do see the Republicans speaking about the rights, property, the markets, and all of that. But you do see on the Democrat on the left side more on the equality, welfare, regulation. These are the words you see. So politics today exists to manage rights, power, and economic life. Just the two bulls.
Yeah.
Yes.
So yeah, there's a really good map of how we should identify and view and kind of comprehend the state of the state, so to speak, in the Western world. My question is, were these destined for devolution because they just did not see the Rita over long time arcs?
I think dharma. Rita was recognized, but the idea of dharma was never developed. See, they write, the Kama Shastra was written with the Shastric viewpoint, said, okay, I recognize all these aims through rhythm. It's all rhythm anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Aims do exist. The Upanishad, the Vedic verse is also there, right? Ahara nidra bhaya maithunancha samanyametat pashubhir naranam.
Mm-hmm.
Jnanam hi tesham adhiko vishesha. In some patas, it's like dharmo hi tesham adhiko vishesha. Dharme pashubhis samana.
Mhm.
If you're if you have only if you're living only in the kama and artha prapancha, you're no more than an animal. So therefore, Kama Shastra was written, Artha Shastra was written, Dharma Shastra was written, and Moksha Shastra was also encoded. So it took a long time for the civilization to narrow it down to four aims only, nothing beyond that,
Mhm.
and having a systematic study on all of these things. So this is our viewpoint. This is the dharmic viewpoint, and having introduced this thing, and I hope we can get no more details going forward into darshanas like Nyaya, Vedanta, and things like that. Any questions so far? Yeah. Feel free to say anything that you want to say. And if you want to say something, you have some thought. Not saying it is actually against your will, or silence is a lie. If you want to say something, okay.
I think I just want to um, kind of emphasize to the audience here that what Srini Mahodaya is doing is trying to present a lens, a view of how to see the world around you. So even though the matter, the topics might seem kind of dense, if you think at a simpler and easier level, it is essentially a cause and effect, and he's trying to present the background and the cause in a systematic way through our lens, the Indic lens.
See,
So please
there are
do, please
yeah,
do.
please ask, because many times we have to we see from thought to reality, reality to thought is the movement that is happening. Now, I'm not. Many times people build a subject, right? They have that is what you saw in the first 6 months, starting the subject. But what is the end, right? It does have an end. So it moved from uh, these are the fundamentals. You got to know this subject, know this subject, know this subject, and then let's move to and once you gain all this knowledge, you will be able to comprehend something bigger. So currently, what is our approach in the Indic humanities? It's about not from examples to principle, it is from principles showing examples and then justifying why those principles are right.
Mhm.
Principles, examples, restating the principles.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, I just again want to encourage the audience here to kind of view it in that sense. You can even question the lens itself, as Srini Mahodaya is explaining, and ask for clarifications. So yeah, please do speak up. I've hardly heard any comments or questions today, but I think strongly encourage everyone to ask questions.
Is it too complex? Because we talked about politics and we talked about policies today and how to evaluate them, because
No,
we are
I think
implementing it.
my personal thing is the content was very appropriate and fairly straightforward.
Mhm.
But yeah, I mean the challenge could be because you are going back and forth, as in from my understanding point of view, I have to bridge the gap between multiple perspectives
Mhm.
uh, for each dimension, right? Or rather, three dimensions for multiple aspects. I have to keep on bridging. That may have been a complex thing, but I think for me, the content was fairly good today.
Mhm.
But having said that, I need to drop. I need to head somewhere. But thank you very much.
Thank you.
You have a comment.
Sure.
So to me, most of it was pretty straightforward in terms of how things are laid out and how we have to consume and adhere to our life things, like everything in life. But the one thing that was clear for me is that the lack of dharmic lens seems
Mhm.
to be. I think that's something that we need to always ask:
Yeah.
are we doing or are we thinking from a dharmic side?
The whole idea of Rita, Satyam, and Dharma. So, Dharma is always following the rhythm. That is what it's not an opinion. It is not some kind of inference. It's not loss. It's not rules. It's purely reality.
Yeah, the alignment to the reality is what
Reality.
kind of it clarified everything because it's more dynamic
It's more
because
than
you have to adapt to the environment and the conditions of what is happening, but yet still not leave or um, forget the nature of things, right? And then still apply
yeah, yeah.
dharma in every way, and then the rita comes along with it, right? The basis. So that was really nice. Thank you.
But as long as Nyaya or the Lakshanas are connecting to why we are defining, the Lakshana philosophy had to be introduced so that you find the innate nature of all these concepts and parties and things like that. People, I mean, there are many layers of understanding it. If you don't know the connecting points, everything is like he says, she says, and this opinion versus that opinion. That is what we need to eliminate. It's super important because it is considered, you know, politics is the highest level of abstraction for a human being.
Hmm.
And if you don't understand it, you don't know what is affecting your life. You won't be able to answer like how come my great grandfather it was just one income, but everybody they were so rich. But now I see everybody is working, but they're all poor. How? You won't get an answer for these kind of questions. And why did the ancients see that Kali Yuga is actually decadence? The- They saw devolution. We are talking about evolution of human beings. But when people wrote Shastras, they talked about Kali Yuga from Treta Yuga, right? From dharmic to decadence. They called it devolution. The humanity is devolving. That was the prediction. And you can see why they said that. It is not a progressive model, it's a devolving model for us. The more physicality comes, yeah.
So is rhythm also cyclic?
Yes, yes, from a larger perspective, it is cyclic. Yes, yes, absolutely.
Okay.
But everything is, you know, it sukha and dukkha. I mean, you can identify what it comes. Agama pa, partha, shitoshna sukha dukkha daha. He says, right? Like the seasonal changes, even the concepts of sukha and dukkha, the pleasures and the sorrows will come and go. I mean, he was talking about rhythm. So they're all in Bhagavad Gita. I mean, this is all simply an expansion of the same thing. They're all either in the expanded form or the seed form. And all these topics are coming from there. All glories to Sri Krishna. He's the source of all. There's nothing new that I've said.
Astu. All right, it's almost 10 past or 8:30 mark, so maybe we can wrap up, Mahodaya.
Yeah.
Ekakshana. सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः सर्वे सन्तु निरामयाः सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत् ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः हरिः ॐ श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः हरिः ॐ. All right, thank you very much, audience. We'll come back to the class next week. अस्तु